Hey y'all. Just wanted to do a quick review of how I create roadmaps for the expansion group, and at the same time get some get some kind of feedback on some new things that I'm doing, um, kind of to plan uh, w- with our new focus. So we've gone through a couple different iterations as a growth group, and now we all have kind of like this new focus to focus on SaaS, um, free to paid conversions. And as a result of it, we're trying to get a little bit more organized. So what I wanted to do is just go through at a high level, how I've, historically created roadmaps and organized issues and things for the team to work on. And then now what I'm doing kind of for this next iteration, which is much more focused on just like one swim lane, which is increasing member invitations to GitLab. And I'd love to get some feedback. So what we're looking at here is really just how I've always organized and structured kind of the larger thematic kind of bodies of work that the team is going to work on. Previously, we had inviting members. We also worked on increasing upgrades, stage adoption, um, we did some work to improve the workflows for our sales and support team. Um, and then there was a small period of time there where we were just focusing on increasing CI/CD usage on GitLab.com. So I've got the big themes here. This is the one that is really interesting. I think this is where we're going to be spending the majority of our time in the near term. So figured I'd get this one kind of really ironed out. So what I've done here is first and foremost, I'm just using kind of a very broad kind of label for this, just so that way it's easy to orient around. The overview is pretty light at this stage of the game, but I think it does a good job of just saying, hey, this is why we've created this. It's kind of like that meta epic, so that way we can have child, or that parent epic, so we can have child epics underneath it that then allow us to kind of cascade the roadmap once they've been created. So that's what this actual parent epic is for. It's really just to house the child epics for all of the work that we're planning on doing. Um, as you can see here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of child epics that roll up underneath this. The the first four are really the ones that we're gonna be working on over the next 1 to 2 quarters. Um, the three down here, these two have already been completed, and they're in the past, which I guess I could just remove, but I like to keep my work there so that way I can go back and look at it. And then I also have this miscellaneous epic, and I use this basically to as a way for us to just collect new ideas, or if somebody else has an idea, we can jot it down. And if it doesn't necessarily align with one of the themes that are up above, which we're planning on doing, we can kind of house it in that one place. Um, what I like about this is that it allows us to do a couple of different things. One, from the list view, not only can we see, um, you know, what's happening here from a thematic perspective. So obviously this first one, and they go in order. You can drag and drop these, obviously. I try to keep these nice and neat in the order in which I think they'll actually happen. As you can see, I've got them denoted at the end. So this one says low hanging fruit, email campaign, and new form to invite users from the create group page. We're going to try to do this one in 13.6, and it's going to cascade through 13.7. We can see that there's 3 issues in it too. And if we wanted to see the actual issues, you can just hit this arrow and see what's happening here. At a high level, you can see that we're going to test the invite member copy. We're going to send an email to single member group owners. And then we're also going to add a form to inviting teammates to from the create group page. So that's one way to see kind of the themes at a high level, and then also the work that's associated to them. So if we were to then like go to the next one, which has 8 issues, it's probably a heavier one. This is where all of the work's going to be done that's focusing on UIs and empty state improvements. So if we open this one, you can see all of the individual issues. A lot of these are still in problem validation. We haven't necessarily sorted out exactly what it is that we want to do yet, but they're good, valid ideas. We definitely do need to validate them though. And you can see at a high level that we've got 8 issues. One of them has actually already been um, completed. This one was an experiment to add invite team members. This is going to be shipping in 13.6, which is the current milestone, but the work has been done and it's moving forward. So it's pretty easy for us to kind of go through, have a quick view of this, see the themes for inviting team members to GitLab, which is ties back to our overall goal of for the quarter and our focus area. And then what's really neat about this is if you look at the roadmap view, and you have to have child epics in place to do this. If you don't, it'll just show you basically an empty state that says you need child epics, which I think is pretty good. So if we open this up, first thing you're going to get hit with is kind of this big wide band, and it says milestones, and there's a drop down, and you can collapse this, right? So I actually like looking this at first because it allows me to orient myself around, where are we right now? And you can see all of the milestones and how they're plotted out. Once you get a good understanding of where you are, you can kind of just collapse that. And then you can see back to the actual epics that have either passed. And this is one of the reasons why you can make the argument to get rid of the old ones that have already been completed, because it would make this view like really, really clean. Um, these are the 5, the 4 down here that I think are really important for us to focus on over the next, 1 to 2 quarters. So we've got Q4 right now. We're almost a third of the way through Q4. So we've got to start getting to work on some of these. One is for the UI and empty state improvements. And you can see how that kind of cascades. The amount of work we have in there might go into Q1 of 2021. The low hanging fruit stuff, this one, if you click on it, you can jump right in and see the actual the 3 different issues here. Test invite member copy. You've got send an email campaign to single member groups, and add a form to inviting teammates. I think this stuff we can move through pretty quickly. I say that, but then again, once you get into it and you start really getting to work, sometimes other things kind of crop up. The some of the other things too. So we've got new features and functionality. I think this is a really interesting one. And then we've got new programs to incentivize users. So when I think about these themes, there's like kind of quick, easy wins with low hanging fruit. There's the UI and empty state improvements that we can work on. I think we can get a good handle on that and move through those rather quickly. New features and functionality, I think they're going to need more product time to actually figure out what it is that we're going to try to build and really kind of get that down. And then also the new programs. So new programs, just at a high level, I've identified 2 kind of interesting opportunities. One is to use credits to incentivize members to invite more people, right? And you can do this a number of different ways. If we were to click into this, you can kind of see the idea here, but really what we would want to do is like allow users to feel empowered um, to invite more people to GitLab. And when we do that, not empowered, when we want to incentivize them to invite more people to GitLab. And when they do invite more people to GitLab, we want to give them credits to things like CI minutes, storage, or actually discount the amount that they're paying for every seat. So this one would be like super cross-functional. We'd need to engage, I think we would want to engage a bunch of different parts of the organization just to make sure that we were all on the same page, because it would have a financial impact. We need to really iron this one out, which is why I have it kind of scheduled for 13.9. And that might even be too soon, just given the fact that there's a lot of things going on in GitLab at any given time. And then if we were to go back and look at this one, the send merchandise to users who have more than that have invited more than 5 members. This one's pretty cool too. This one would probably be a little bit lighter. I think applying credits to an account for inviting members might be pretty heavy, and we might not actually want to do that right out of the gate. But something like this might be a little bit lighter. I would consider it kind of a program because we would have to set up basically the ability for a user to identify a product that they would want to have shipped to themselves. A good example of this was from a company called Ask Kodiak. Um, they have an API offering, and part of the onboarding solution for them is you actually have to send yourself a t-shirt through their API. I always thought that was like so cool. Maybe for GitLab it isn't the API. Maybe it's they've invited X number of users and then they can get a link to, a swag shop that has a collection of items that are, like socks or a hat or something that's kind of inexpensive but meaningful. So when I think about programs, they're a little bit headier. They involve more parts of the organization, and they're going to take more time for us to actually execute. So that's kind of why I've justified the way that I've kind of set them up here. And you can just go right down the list here and see what's happening. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel on how I'm going about the roadmap and how I'm organizing issues. I think too, another opportunity is there's two opportunities. One is to continue ideation and identify other opportunities for us to create issues that might have high impact with low effort. I'm always open to that. We just did one recently, probably 2 months ago, and we compiled a list of about 30 different ideas. But there's always opportunities for us to kind of find new things and come up with ideas. So I'm always open to it. And I'm thinking about actually scheduling them kind of more frequently, like on a cadence, so that way we don't get stale. But at the same time, I don't want to burn everybody out just by brainstorming just to brainstorm. And then the other thing too that I wanted to call out here is these child epics. These are pretty light, right? So we're looking at these and it's really just kind of a container. What I'm thinking about doing next is actually building out the definition of these child epics that kind of give the overarching theme some structure and some direction. So that way it's easy for people to land on this and say, oh, okay, this is where we're headed. This is why we're doing this. So things that you would typically see, I don't want to say like an opportunity canvas, but something like that that allows us to identify like what is the opportunity here. If we were to make all of these changes inside the UI and the empty states, like what are we expecting to get out of it? Where does it live? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's some of the data that we would talk about, and how do we go about it? So I think that's kind of the next step for me, is to really dig into these themes and kind of create some more structure and definition around them. But that said, I'd love some feedback. I figured I'd just do this quick video to get it out there, just a couple of ideas. Um, anyway, thanks, y'all. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. See ya.